What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, former unified WBC, WBA, welterweight, world champion, superstar boxer, Keith, one-time Thurman. He goes into depth of what took place between himself and now undefeated unified WBC, IBF, welterweight, world champion, superstar boxer, who is widely considered to be top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and Errol the Truth Spence Jr. Now we know Errol Spence Jr. is going in to a highly anticipated, what is going to be now a unification showdown with 8 division legendary iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, he beat Keith Thurman back in July of 2019 to garner the WBA title, okay? Keith Thurman had lost the WBC title due to inactivity, which saw 2-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer Showtime Sean Porter face off against 2-division world champion, former junior welterweight unified world champion, former WBC welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia. Now, Danny Garcia, he lost his WBC title to Keith Thurman, okay? That saw Keith Thurman become unified. And Keith Thurman, he, due to inactivity after that, he lost the belt, and they fought for the vacant belt. Then we know Errol Spence, he defeated Sean Porter for the WBC title in the unification bout. That's why he garnered the WBC title. With that said, this is the road to how we got to Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao. But Keith Thurman, he goes into depth because everybody, they speculate that when Errol Spence was calling out Keith Thurman for quite some time, that it was due to the fact that Keith Thurman just didn't feel like or feel confident that he could beat Errol Spence. Well, Keith Thurman, he goes into depth about what took place, what actually took place at that point in time, okay? He gives timelines, he gives dates, and he's saying that, what truly took place. And he's saying that Errol Spence never truly wanted to fight. He was just playing the role of a roadblock for legendary retired Hall of Famer, former pound-for-pound king, former pay-per-view king, 5-division world champion, retired 50-0, Floyd Money Mayweather. So he says that due to the fact that he was playing roadblock for this being Errol Spence for Floyd Mayweather is the reason he started calling out Keith Thurman, but he was simply doing what he was ordered to do. This is the words of Keith Thurman. He says he was just following out orders coming from Floyd Mayweather himself, because Keith Thurman stated that he placed himself in position to fight Floyd Mayweather because Paulie Malignaggi, he had the title, okay? Paulie Malignaggi had the belt initially. Paulie Malignaggi lost the belt to Adrian Broner. But before we get to that, Errol Spence Jr., 27 wins, no losses, no draws, 21 wins by way of knockout. He's 31 years of age, stands at 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach, okay? He's going to face off against Manny Pacquiao, 62 wins, 7 losses, 2 draws, 39 wins by way of knockout. He himself was knocked out 3 times, 42 years of age, stands at 5'5" with a 67-inch arm reach, okay? Keith Thurman, 29 wins, 1 loss. That coming in the hands of Manny Pacquiao. 21 wins by way of knockout. And Keith Thurman is 31 years of age, 5'7.5" with a 69-inch arm reach, okay? So Keith Thurman, he breaks down what took place and why Errol Spence initially started to call him out. And he gives timelines, he gives dates, okay? So he says that when when Paulie Malignaggi had the WBA title, okay? Paulie Malignaggi, he fought Adrian Broner. Paulie Malignaggi, this was back in 2013, so he's giving timelines, okay? So he says Paulie Malignaggi, he fought Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner, now Keith Thurman was the mandatory challenger. He was the WBA mandatory challenger, but he's saying that he didn't have the time because the belt kept changing hands to actually, enforce his mandatory position. So Paulie Malignaggi back in 2013, June of 2013, he fought Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner, he beat Paulie Malignaggi via split decision, okay? So then Adrian Broner, he went in and fought Marcos Maidana. That was December of 2013, okay? He lost to Marcos Maidana. So now the belt changed hands from Paulie Malignaggi to Adrian Broner. Okay, now Adrian Broner, he had a voluntary defense before he had to have a mandatory. So his voluntary defense was against Marcos Maidana, December of 2013. He lost to Marcos Maidana. Okay, then Marcos Maidana, he went into a showdown May of 2014. His voluntary defense against Floyd Mayweather. Now the WBC was a unification bout. The WBA and the WBC belt was on the line. Floyd Mayweather, he beat Marcos Maidana, majority decision. Now Floyd Mayweather, Marcos Maidana, they had a mandatory immediate rematch. Okay, Floyd Mayweather gave Marcos Maidana the immediate rematch in September of 2014. He beat Marcos Maidana via unanimous decision. Okay, so now here's where it gets interesting. Now he's saying in 2014 he was the mandatory challenger for Floyd Mayweather. Okay, but Floyd Mayweather, he said everybody started to, ask Floyd Mayweather, what about, a fight with yourself and Keith Thurman? He says then Floyd Mayweather, he pushed Errol Spence off on me. Okay, and he started to tell people, if I'm a good young fighter, but I'm very green, he says, but if Keith Thurman can beat Errol Spence Jr., then he'll give me the opportunity. So Keith Thurman is saying Floyd Mayweather told the world, and he called Floyd Mayweather a little birdie that put a little bug in the air of Errol Spence, and told Errol Spence to start calling out Keith Thurman to deflect from Keith Thurman actually getting his opportunity with Floyd Mayweather. So he says that I was looking to secure a fight with Floyd Mayweather because I was the mandatory challenger. Okay, I never got that opportunity. Floyd Mayweather, he ended up fighting Andre Berto. And then we know the rest is history. He then retired. Okay, so, he fought. Floyd Mayweather fought. He fought Marcos Maidana twice. Then he fought. Then he fought Marcos Maidana. Then he fought Manny Pacquiao, right? And then he ended up fighting. Hold on. He fought Marcos Maidana, then he fought Manny Pacquiao, then he fought Andre Berto. Okay, so when he fought Manny Pacquiao, obviously he wasn't going to let Keith Thurman block his fight with Manny Pacquiao. Then he fought Andre Berto. We know the rest is history. He ended up retiring, came back. He fought Conor McGregor, 50-0. Okay, so what Keith Thurman is saying, at that point in time, Floyd Mayweather was deflecting and using Errol Spence. So Errol Spence was told to call out Keith Thurman. So Keith Thurman is saying initially, when he called me out for the first time, he initially said he wanted to fight Floyd Mayweather. He said then he changed his tune and said, well, I want to fight Keith Thurman. So Keith Thurman is saying, well, why didn't you? Floyd Mayweather was the head honcho at that time. He was the creme de la creme. He was at the top of the hill. So why didn't you stay the course and call out Floyd Mayweather? Why did you choose to persistently call myself out? Okay, and so he's saying that. But he never actually sent a contract. He said when Sean Porter and Kenny Porter wanted to fight me, I got a contract. I got a call. We have the same management team. We have the same advisors. If Errol Spence truly wanted to fight me, he would have, made the phone call. They would have contacted me, and we could have got a deal done. But I didn't want to have a fight with Errol Spence for nothing. Meaning that he said that it wasn't a big enough fight. He wasn't a big enough name. He only had 16 wins and no losses. So he says that, why would I pursue, a fight with Errol Spence? Yeah, it's a high, it's a high quality fight, but it's not a high profile fight. Okay, so he says, why would I pursue that fight with Errol Spence if I hadn't had, if he wasn't a big name yet, and I was pursuing the big names on the top of the hill, which was Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. Now, Keith Thurman, he stated that I never got a contract, and he says he don't appreciate the fact that Errol Spence continues to tell the world that he's been calling him out and looking to make a fight, when he says that if this was the case, he says when I was looking to make the fight with Floyd Mayweather and I was looking to make the fight with Manny Pacquiao, he stated that Al Heyman would have told me, well, you looking to make this fight, but I continue to get these calls from Errol Spence. He wants to fight you. He said that wasn't the case. We never got a contract sent over. He never informed anybody of important substance that he wanted to fight with myself. So he says that I don't appreciate him doing that telling the world that he was trying to fight me, and he says that he's fighting all the guys. You know, he said essentially he's saying that Errol Spence is fighting in his shadow. He says Errol Spence is fighting Sean Porter, who I already beat. He fought Danny Garcia, who I already beat. He fought Leonard Bundle, who I already beat. And now he's fighting Manny Pacquiao, although I lost. So Keith Thurman is saying it's my fault because this trajectory, and Errol Spence, essentially he stated that Errol Spence was aware that they were on a collision course for 2020. So he says that the 2020 is the year the Olympics was supposed to start. Now we know we had the global pandemic, so it threw everything off. So he's saying 2020 was supposed to be the year of the Olympics. He's Olympian. I was Olympian alternate. He says that that was the year we were supposed to set up for me and Errol Spence to fight. He says that what happened was he dropped the ball against Manny Pacquiao. He says this was supposed to be me and Errol Spence for this unification bout in 2020. That was the plan all along. He says, but he let the little birdie, being Floyd Mayweather, put the bug in his ear from the beginning, and he started persistently calling me out publicly, but he never actually did the legwork behind the scenes to actually legitimize him calling me out and actually trying to make the fight. So I don't appreciate him doing that because it makes me look like a certain kind of way, and I have to answer these questions. So he's saying now that Errol Spence knew from the beginning that, well, at some point in time, when Errol Spence, he says that when Errol Spence beat Kell Brook, he says at the point when Errol Spence beat Kell Brook, okay, he's saying that, and back in 2017, he says Errol Spence knew from that moment on that in 2020 was the ideal date. That was the target date for himself and Errol Spence, as long as they stayed the course and winning. But he dropped the ball against Manny Pacquiao. He lost to Manny Pacquiao, and so now Manny Pacquiao is the person in that position. And he says that why wouldn't Errol Spence? He beat the guys that I beat already. I beat them before he beat them. So he says, with the exception of Kell Brook, he says because Kell Brook never agreed to fight me. So he says that, you know, he beat the guys that I beat. Why wouldn't he want to beat me as well, you know, to fight all the best of this era? So Keith Thurman has laid out his reasoning why the Errol Spence fight never took place. And he says that he says that he admitting of he could have initiated as well to do the paperwork. You know, he says, but everybody was calling me because I was considered to be next up. I was on deck to replace Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. So everybody was calling me out, and everybody that wanted to fight me, with the paperwork was coming through my desk. I didn't have to send it out, okay? So he's saying the same went for Adrian Broner as well. He said a lot of people asked him, why you never fought Adrian Broner? He says, because that paperwork never came through my desk, okay? So now he did admit, though, he could have initiated the send over the paperwork, but he thought the plan was to fight Errol Spence in 2020. Though we know Errol Spence, today's time, Errol Spence is saying that he has no interest in fighting Keith Thurman because Keith Thurman never gave him his opportunity. So after this fight with Manny Pacquiao, should he be victorious, he's looking to take his talents over and face off against undefeated 3-division world champion, superstar boxer who currently is the WBO welterweight world champion in Terrence Bud Crawford, which is considered the biggest fight in the sport of boxing currently right now. So he's saying that that's the fight he wants to pursue, and that's what Errol Spence is saying. If not, he's looking to go to 54. So Keith Thurman, he states, well, maybe I'll just have to chase Errol Spence to 154 to make the fight happen. He says he don't believe that Errol Spence truly is confident he could beat Keith Thurman and wants to fight from the beginning because he never sent the paperwork through. But he continues to tell the world that I didn't want to fight. This is what Keith Thurman had to say. You know, we got to see what Keith Thurman's next plan is. It's looking like he could fight Sean Porter in the fall in the rematch of their fight that Keith Thurman initially won. It was high action packed. It was a beautiful fight. So it looked like it could possibly be a rematch of that fight. I would love to see personally Keith Thurman versus Yordenis Ugas, because Yordenis Ugas is the WBA regular champion. Yordenis Ugas is slated to be the co-main event to Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao. So I would love to see Keith Thurman versus Yordenis Ugas as the co-main event to Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao. It builds up a storyline, builds up a fight. We have to see what Terrence Crawford's next move is, because Bob Arum, legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO and promoter of Terrence Crawford, he doesn't have any interest in putting out any type of money for Terrence Crawford to have a high-profile fight. Doesn't see the value in it. Terrence Crawford to be a free agent in October, so we got to see how that plays out. So let's see how everything unfolds and plays out. We know publicly Errol Spence has been calling him out, but he's saying he never actually truly wanted to fight. It was all a ploy on the part of Floyd Mayweather to detract from him, Keith Thurman, fighting Floyd Mayweather. That's where it all initiated from. So let's see where this unfolds and plays out. Make sure you hit the like button, drop a comment in the comment section, let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
This is Amanda, the real deal Serrano, and you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.